Hello, listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com. This is the AwardsWatch Podcast, episode 204. I'm the executive editor, Ryan McQuade. Joining me today is Sophia Ciminello.
Hi, everyone.
And Dan Bayer.
It's hilarious.
We are doing something that we've done before in the past, but we're doing a more recent one. We are doing the 2018 Oscars in a retrospective this week for the 91st Academy Awards. We were going to have a bigger crew, but who needs a bigger crew, right? The three of us are perfect enough. We're everyone's favorites, right? So
that movie was about a trio. Really,
it was about a trio, and really,
it was.
That's for sure. But yeah, 2018 Oscars. I think that we all went through it that year emotionally, that it took us 5 years to get to this point to talk about it, right? Because every Oscar years, especially I think modern Oscar years, and maybe Sophia, you and I were talking about this offline before Dan got on, but it just feels like as each year has gone on in this modern era, it takes a little part of us with us. But this year, it felt like if we can get through 2018, we can get through probably just about anything going forward. But am I wrong about that? And am I wrong about how nuts this year is?
No, you're right. And to that point, I mean, I've said before, like I remember 2021 was a year of great suffering for me with the Oscars into 2022. But I remember saying that season, nothing can hurt me compared to this year. I felt very, I think, prepared for everything bad that was to come, and even for future Oscar seasons, honestly, because of this year. And I feel like a part of it, and part of covering the Oscars that can be really hard, is when you have a really good movie year but a really bad Oscar year. That happens sometimes, and that I think is what happened this year.
And it wasn't so much that the films nominated were bad. It's that we had not one, but two villains that cleaned up at the Oscars.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think that usually you just have the one. And this year it was two. And it was rough. It also felt like a year at certain points, like anything could happen. And it ended up going the most predictable old school Academy route, which was especially disappointing. It was also the year when they announced that they were going to start making all these changes to the ceremony, and the public outcry was so loud that they said, actually, we're not going to do any of that. Sorry.
Well, it is interesting because like the ripple effects of this Oscars, and like you're talking about, Dan, the decisions have been affected the last 5 years. Like this was the first year I believe we didn't have a host, right? And they started dabbling in the stupid Best Popular thing as well. Was this the idea also of when they were thinking about cutting the categories?
Yeah, this is when the present all 24 hashtag was raging.
Exactly. So 2 out of those 3 things eventually did happen, or I guess all of those things happened because we didn't have a host for the next 4 years until last year, right? And when Kimmel came back, and then we had a Best Popular award, which was I mean, right? Well, we had movie
Twitter moment,
the Twitter award, that got given to what was it, the Snyder Cut or whatever the hell the thing was, and then we did have the cutting of live awards in the 2021 year. So there was this back and forthness centering around all these ideas. And it was really weird because the pandemic, you think, oh, well, maybe we want to celebrate these movies or whatnot. And then it just so happened that they ended up doing them and really alienating their audience in a lot of ways. And I just kind of wanted to get y'all's opinions where you guys were at when you heard about all those things, and do you feel like those aren't the changes that we want to see, correct?
Yeah.
Not at all. Not the changes we want to see. I mean, like the hostless thing, I'm kind of like, six of one, half dozen of the other about. I like the tradition of having a host, but I don't think it's necessary like some people do. I mean, for years, the Golden Globes didn't have a host and they were perfectly fine. And considering how like terrible some of the hosts we have had are and how high risk, low reward the job is, I don't blame them for, saying let's just not bother and let each presenter, do their own hosting, basically. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, it does leave the evening like kind of without a shape or something to unify everything except the awards themselves. And unfortunately, the awards that we got this year were mostly ouch.
Well, I also think too, Dan, that you don't have to have a host, but it's the Oscars, so they shouldn't be like all the other award shows that have or haven't had a host. It's the biggest night in Hollywood, so you need, and for many years of its existence, it's had a host to move the show along. Mm-hmm. It's the bits.
Well, for every year of its existence until this point,
the bits are the things that can make the show long, and that's when the sort of obsession over the length of this whole show started to become really a factor. It seemed like over the last couple of years is right here. And what's really interesting is we're talking about, these movies, they never see the movies. The audiences never see these movies. Bohemian Rhapsody made like close to $1 billion. Black Panther made $1 billion. A Star is Born was a big hit. Black Klansman did pretty good. Green Book, that won Best Picture, did pretty well at the box office as well. Vice found an audience. I don't know the streaming numbers for Roma, but whatever. The favorite was a pretty good size indie house, hit. So this is, whether you like the films or not, and I don't like a third of these movies, or or 3 out of 8 that are in this lineup, I'm not a big fan of. It still is a good snapshot of the films that are made in Hollywood and representative of audiences that are going out there to see it. These films, because you have literally a giant MCU superhero movie nominated next to something like Roma.
And you had that Marvel movie winning multiple Academy Awards, and the evening started out so good with those awards. It started off so well, and then just
it went downhill after that.
Mm-hmm. Literally the sad trombone noise.
Well, usually I ask questions here to you guys, like, because we usually do these 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years in the past. But it's always interesting to see where people were at 5 years ago, because it's like literally a job interview question. You go, where are you going to be in 5 years? Mm-hmm. So where were you guys in 5 years? Dan, I kind of know where you were, but the audience might. But Sophia, where were you 5 years ago?
Yeah, I wasn't formally covering the Oscars yet in a real way. I had always really wanted to, and I'd followed them for so long, but I hadn't quite taken that leap yet to, doing it, I think, in a way that meant podcasting or writing about it or anything like that. So, but I was very into it at my work. My poor coworkers who are not that into movies, every week I did like a little Oscar contest and organized like a ballot contest and everything for them. And I had a great Oscar party that year where you could just feel the energy drain throughout the night from all of my friends as everything just completely went downhill. But I was very into film, very into the Oscars still, but it's fun to look back on this time and think, I wonder what I would have said and how I would have reacted to it in a format like this, because I was, I've loved Bradley Cooper since I first saw him in Alias. So this was a very, very hard year for me. And I was very vocal about that. I don't think A Star is Born is the best movie of the year, but it was very painful to see those losses happen when I initially thought that there would be plenty of wins for that movie when it came out. So yeah, that's where I was then. It's kind of crazy. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Was this kind of, and just to ask you real quick, but was this year and everything, because you kind of started Oscar Wilde shortly after that, right? So was this kind of like the jumping point for you to get into doing this and where you're at now with that show, but also with us here?
Yeah, I would say it's a big reason why. I think looking at something like 2017, which I think is a great movie year as well, and seeing how The Shape of Water won all of those awards, but my favorite movie of the year, Phantom Thread, I was so into that Oscar season with the way that just kind of surprisingly overperformed nomination morning. And then I think just seeing the pendulum swing from something like The Shape of Water to something like Green Book is just something that's happened throughout Oscar history, but it all of a sudden was a very tangible thing that I was experiencing at a time when I was considering covering this more seriously and more thoughtfully. So I think the 2 years together really, really inspired me to get going on Oscar Wilde, but then pursuing other avenues too, like AwardsWatch.
Yeah. Dan, where were you 5 years ago?
So 2018 was, I had been writing for the Film Experience for a few years, but this was the first year that I had gotten into the podcasting game and really just like delving really deep on a week by week basis into movies and the Oscar race, particularly, starting with my buddy, good friend Matt St. Clair, and then moving over to Next Best Picture. And so this was sort of like one of those like key years for me that I will always remember. I had been living in New York for a few years at that point and was just like seeing everything that I could, absolutely everything. And it was a really fun year until the awards actually started happening.
I didn't have a podcast for a while. In late 2017 is when I started really doing my own thing, and then that show, which nobody can hear that audio anymore, doesn't exist. But just when you have your first podcast and you're like, God, this. I have grown from this.
Episodes.
Yeah,
I know,
you know what I mean.
I know it.
But I started branching out more and thinking I could do more. And early 2018, I started doing writing and podcasting over at In Session Film, and I started coming up with this idea of like, well, I love talking about the Oscars, whether or not that's good or bad is beyond the point. And so I started doing this show that was carried on for about 5 years, was called Chasing the Gold. And I just started reaching out to people on Twitter that were on different websites and asking them to be on guest, and whether that was saying yes or no, it was up to them. And one of those guests was that I just asked, and he said yes, which I was shocked, was Eric. And Eric came on and was kind of a regular guest throughout that year. Another person that came on was Dan. So that's when I first met Dan, was about 5 years ago, and started doing that show. And
was that 5 years ago? I thought the first time I did that was the next year.
Was it the next year? I kind of felt like I met you though, yeah. but maybe we didn't. I don't know. Time is
maybe yeah. Time is a flat circle.
Yeah, it's a flat circle. We have had a pandemic and all that stuff in between, but I know it was right around that time.
Only Christopher Nolan really knows.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I realized that I really wanted to do this, and I remember covering this year in the moment, and how wild and frustrating it was for all of us, including myself. And if you go way back into the Twitter stuff, there's a lot of just anger, I think, on all of our feeds from this year, just because I think that it's the closest thing in the Twitter universe that we've had since the crash year, where there are a lot of films that in that year, in 2006, that are great films, even great films that were nominated. And yet the film that represents the year from the Academy's perspective as the best picture of the year does not meet the standards of what I think a lot of people think is the best movie of that year. But the Academy spoke and they made up their minds. And
because it made them feel good about a social issue.
It made them pat themselves on the back, which I will say this, though. I know we're going to shit a lot on Green Book, and I'm going to ask y'all's thoughts here.
Better
about the
than
film.
Crash.
It is better than Crash. It is a movie that goes in a slot in history where I don't think it's a great movie, but I don't think it is like terrible the way that people say it is, because I think that winning Best Picture has hurt its legacy. There are some movies that it wins Best Picture, and that obviously helps its legacy. I think of movies like Parasite and Moonlight are in Nomadland are great examples. Spotlight, even Shape of Water for a lot of people, where those wins for Best Picture put it even on another level for, you know, it being for standing tall in a sea of movies that can be fine wins, you know, like Argo or I was trying to think of like another film that's kind of like fine from this era. The King's Speech, you know, these are just kind of movies where you're like, they're fine, but like they're not great wins. And you can find another film or two or three amongst the batch that better over time. But even in that moment, you felt like, I don't know, this movie feels more for that time, that when you come back and we do a retrospective like this, like that's the movie of 2018. Like I go back and I want sit down and I watch a movie. I want to feel like what was the pulse, what was the energy, the creativity of that year. And Green Book is not that. Green Book is a throwback to movies that made him feel good in times that were tough. And that's not necessarily been the best example of, when you look back in the history of film, how the Academy should operate. Because it's weird when they have something like Shape of Water and Moonlight back-to-back years, and then they do a movie like this, it's that 2-step forward, 3-step back sort of thing. And you're like, what are you doing here? And they do it all the time. I mean, Coda is a perfect example of that as well, I think, you know, where it's, you know, you're making steps forward. Parasite, Nomadland, wow, these smaller films, independent films, and then something quite basic that ends up winning. So.
I mean, Coda's also a small independent film, so
it's also small and independent from Apple. You know what I mean?
Because they bought it. Like
when they still, still.
Well, that I think is almost a part of another conversation too that I'm really interested in, of like the COVID era film that wins Best Picture. Right? I'm wondering how long it's going to take for us to not have a movie that is, you know, a story about family, right? Coming together. The past 2 years, that's what we've seen. And Nomadland, I think, was very much a product of that early COVID time with isolation and that being the theme of the year. But now we're looking at these stories that are about families, and they have, you know, good, happy endings. And it's interesting. I think one of the reasons too why I got into the Oscars and covering them is because it is, I think, the clearest way to understand the zeitgeist and the relationship, right, to the film industry and what the actual people in the industry care about. And that, I think, is where I think of Coda, how that comes into it. And I'm not a fan of the movie, but I almost put that as a separate bucket than something like a Green Book, for instance.
I think though, but I think also we've, you know, you can split them up though in terms of wins that everybody can agree on, and then people that are completely divided on. And but what are your thoughts on Green Book? Actually, I've never. I mean, as a film, like as a winner, but as a film too. Like, I mean, let's talk about it just from a winner's standpoint. Like 5 years later, is it? I mean, we did the Best Picture rankings. We were actually all three of them here. I think we put it in. Did we put it in the C or the D category? I
feel like it was D.
I don't think we put it in F, but
I think it was D.
As a winner, it's a terrible winner.
I mean, it's, as always, or as usual, Spike Lee just has the best word on this movie. Not my cup of tea.
Oh, it's such a great clip.
I mean, he walked out of the ceremony before the acceptance speech, which is which good for you, Spike. Good for you, because he felt like he was seeing history repeat itself with Driving Miss Daisy and Do the Right Thing all over again.
Yeah,
this time he actually at least won an Oscar, but still.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I'll be honest, the original screenplay win I find personally more offensive than the Best Picture win.
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think the screenplay is probably that film's worst element. And, you know, it's a movie that for me falls into, although they're completely different movies, it kind of falls into, for me, a similar category as Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, where I kind of enjoy it and like it in the moment, but afterwards, when I go back and think about it, it kind of curdles into something very different. When you reflect it and are looking back on it and you're not just in the moment enjoying it, when you start thinking about the themes and how it is about what it is about, that for me is when it falls apart.
That's good.
It feels literally in every way, it feels so old-fashioned in terms of how it deals with race and just even relationships between men, not to mention queerness, which I mean the movie basically doesn't. So it is such a tortured production too, with like you know, the family of Don Shirley coming out and saying how offended they were by it, and Hollywood and everyone going like, well, we don't care. It's really just something. I think this is it's strange how, you know, complaints like that just were completely ignored.
It's super weird when the anti-campaigns start working up against something. Like, you know, not to go back to the Code of Year, but like the sort of well, it's just true. Like how certain,
like, don't put me through this.
I'm not trying to put you through this, but like how these, like the Brokeback Mountain or the Power of the Dog campaigns are so venomous, but yet then you look at a movie like Crash, nobody brings up in the moment all its flaws, or nobody brings up this flaw, or they're just how the industry is like, oh, the Shirley family, that is actually not even, you know, they don't get a say as to how this person is portrayed. It's only through the memory of what, the son or the grandson of Viggo's character in the film, and you're like, well, of course it's going to be watered down, white version, plain old version of, and not have any nuance to it, and it's also going to make their family look really good. It's the problem I have with biopics, and we've talked about this before, me and Sophia. I think Dan and you and I have talked about this, where when the subject matter is so close to the movie that the you know, it can't be objective. It can't like condemn or look bad upon. And this is the worst example, because then one of the family members wrote the damn script and won the Oscar for it, which makes it even look 10 times worse of how it's propping up this family and this very questionable character and a story that may or may not even be true. But that's beside the point. You know, there's a ton of movies that are just, you know, that stretch the truth. But the way that this movie gets about its values is kind of wild.
Yeah.
It is a movie about, you know, breaking down barriers and dismantling stereotypes between two people that absolutely revels in presenting stereotypes for us to laugh at.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sense of humor of the movie is horrid.
I mean, look, I fucking love Viggo Mortensen taking a whole fucking pizza, folding it in half, and chowing down. I love it. But like, let's not pretend that this is good cinema, please.
Let's not. Yeah, we're Lawrence of Arabia pizza scene. You know what I mean? Like, it's like these are the films that have won Best Picture. You know, and I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel like maybe this is me, and this is Eric always gets a little bit mad at me.
This is me.
But I get
Not that movie.
No, not that. No. I feel like there is, when you have a vote, especially for Best Picture, there's a sense of responsibility. And there's a sense of needing to know your past, the films that have won, the place that this vote is going to have in history. Mm-hmm. And it's beyond just, a movie made me cry, because a ton of movies make me cry every year, but I'm not putting them all on my ballot or my list. And thinking about like when because sometimes when I think about what I would vote for Best Picture, mm-hmm. I don't always think about, my favorite film of the year is up here. I also think about like what might be the best movie that again represents the year. Yeah. Might have a better staying power than just a movie that I particularly love. And I think that sometimes they do get that right. There is a sense of responsibility with certain films that we've got to vote for this because this is a special film. But then there's times where I feel like they just get completely bought or devoid of that responsibility. And it shows with the film that they select, because that's what this movie feels like. It feels like, it made us cry and they had a good Q&A after it. So therefore, which the Q&As for this movie at the time were wild. Like Vigo with the N-word and stuff like that. But again, a choosing to ignore, right, what is controversial and what's not for other films. I find that would be really funny.
It feels like a film that was won by the campaign and how strategic the campaign was in getting the film out to the people who were most likely to vote for it. Because if you look at this lineup, it's a lot of like really cool films. Like, you have The Favorite and Black Panther and Black Klansman and A Star is Born and in some ways Vice, in other ways not Vice, and even Roma is, a pretty cool film in its way. And then you have fucking Green Book, which is like the most staid, old-fashioned like grandma movie. And I don't necessarily mean like grandma movie in like a bad way or a negative way. It's just like it's the movie that you sit down in front of with your family with at Thanksgiving, which is when I saw it. Yeah. And everybody says, yeah, that was a nice movie.
Let's go have dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
And this was before I was going to press screenings or many film festivals. So I actually saw Green Book with my family around Thanksgiving. And I remember, hearing that this was like a good family film and, everything. It's like the one you take your family to go see, but not my family.
I was going to say, not the Ciminello family. I know that family. There's no fucking way that family
we were a favorite family.
Yeah.
But so we went to see it, and I remember what my mom said after the movie rang so true, which is, why wasn't it about Don Shirley?
Yes.
Like it was trailblazing Black artist.
The most interesting character, right? Yes. In the film. And he's completely sidelined as this stereotype that basically exists so that we can learn something about our main character, who is completely uninteresting, right? Like just the opposite. So that was, we really didn't react positively to it, but I remember no one actively hated it. We just were like, that?
Well, and
why are people talking about that movie?
And I think also too, the other point about this year as to why it ended up pulling ahead was the alternative to win Best Picture was Roma, which is a foreign language film. It's the complete opposite in terms of a film.
It opens with 30 minutes of a maid wiping dog shit up off the floor with no dialogue. I mean, that's a tough sell for anyone.
It's a tough sell.
It was on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, which is
people going to watch that at home.
This is kind of the birth of Netflix in the awards race, big time. I mean, it won foreign language film, cinematography, director. So it was clearly it got the 2 surprise actress and best supporting actress nominations. It was nominated across the board. It feels very much like Power of the Dog, in that this is the movie that everyone is saying should win, had the momentum.
The critics are saying.
Everyone's, even the industry, it was winning awards, and it was the overwhelming director winner, and everyone was saying how important it was, and how this is the movie this is Netflix's moment, and the other stuff. And I think you have to factor in big time that this was the first sign of the Netflix bias, the pushing of, hey, no, we're going to give it to a studio movie regardless of what that is. And yes, besides just it moving them, it moved them in a different way. It moved them in the Coda way, where it was more emotional rather than respectful. Some people, they see a movie and they like, oh, it reminds me of my family, as opposed to like Alfonso Cuarón's film Roma is a movie that, like, technically speaking, great, but you heard a lot of people go, especially the people that were voting, say how empty of an experience it was for them, how detached they were, left them cold. Mm-hmm. And that movie, for better or worse, it's always movies by women or people of color, and it's never the other way around. And so I always found that, as a Mexican American, really fascinating that the movie directed by a Mexican about an experience that was very personal to him, that movie gets thrown through the grinder. But Green Book, that had controversy after controversy, had things hicked up along the way, all that was passed, not even to mention Bohemian Rhapsody as well, which was $1 billion movie directed by a man. That was directed by a man.
I'm not ready.
Who,
it was directed by the editor.
Yeah, it was directed by the editor because the director had to be pulled off of the project because of sexual assault, accusations. And then also, like, I guess Dexter Fletcher had to come and piece some of it together as well. So it was put together by tape. And also the entire controversy around this movie being made for years and years and years. If you want to hear Sacha Baron Cohen on Howard Stern, he talked about how this movie was originally supposed to be like Freddie dying halfway through, and then being about the Queen band post his death, which is completely disrespectful, but it's a fascinating choice. It is a choice. But it's also, again, Brian May and the rest of the Queen crew being very close to the project, and it not diving into and making Freddie Mercury the villain halfway through that film. And so these are the movies that, and then of course there's a movie about Dick Cheney, and Dick Cheney almost being like a sympathetic figure.
Big Dickie C.
I still wish I would have left at that fake out mid-credits scene.
I think it would have been a good movie at that point. Like,
I would have been so much happier if I didn't have to sit through the rest.
The whole thing with the
feel bad movie of Christmas,
the heart and the what is it, the heart transplant, and then there's nothing in there. God. It's the imagery. It was a really hard year. It was a really hard year. But besides the bad ones, there are great nominees in here, like Black Klansman, like you mentioned, The Favorite. A lot of people loved A Star Is Born.
Honestly, even Black Panther.
Black Panther getting in is an anomaly now.
Movie.
Yeah. I really liked Can You Ever Forgive Me? I remember really enjoying that when I saw it and being happy with those nominations.
Sad it didn't get into picture, but
I know.
I was happy that I wish there was more love for a movie that we'll probably talk about later, If Beale Street Could Talk. I wish there was.
Will we talk about it later? Yeah.
I wish there was more love above the line for Damien Chazelle's First Man, a movie that I really like, and in comparison to something like Babylon, is completely more my speed. It was so great to see Paul Schrader get nominated for First Reformed.
But
no Ethan Hawke, which in that lineup, which I'm sure we're gonna dismantle it here very soon, is ridiculous. Cold War. I love that Cold War.
Pawlikowski.
I mean, that was great. Shoplifters getting in. Into the Spider-Verse. This was when Into the Spider-Verse and Free Solo, really took off. Though, if I will say one thing about the documentary features is that Free Solo won that award, but I would say that almost all those other documentaries are better documentaries, especially Minding the Gap in Hill County this evening, which are
Minding the Gap is so good.
Phenomenal documentaries as well. And it has one of the sexiest moments in Oscar history between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga singing Shallow, right? I mean...
I really felt like we were intruding on something. Like
I felt disrespectful watching. It was a little much. I was like, wow, this is a lot to take in. But before we get to shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I have some Oscar trivia that I always do for you guys, but you don't have as much help as you guys usually do in the past. But
Dan.
Ryan,
it is Sophia and Dan to help each other. You can help each other out. Okay.
I hate you so much.
You know this is coming every time, and you guys refuse to maybe prepare. I don't know. We'll see. First question: How many viewers watched the Oscars in 2018? What was the number that they gave us all at the end?
Wait. Sorry, would you say in 2018 that the?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. In 2019. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. For this Oscars. I'm sorry. My bad.
Wasn't it like 30 million or something?
Yeah, I was gonna say 28. So I feel like it's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Want to go with 29 in between?
You're gonna go 29. Dan, you're going with what? 30?
Yeah, I'll go with 30. Fine.
Let's split the difference. 29.56. So
there
29 and a half.
There we go.
How long was the ceremony?
It was a long one.
But it wasn't the
people
longest.
Were clearing out.
Remember, they were like, we got to get this under 3 hours.
I feel like it was 3 hours, like 3 hours 20.
Yeah, I'll go 3:20. Also, that sounds right.
Just short. It was 3 hours and 21 minutes.
Oh my God, we're
good
so
job.
Close.
We're so good.
All right, I gave you some easy ones up front, but this is where it starts getting hard. Okay. This year at the Oscars, they had individuals present the Best Picture nominees. Can you tell me the presenters for each of the 8 films that were nominated for Best Picture of the year?
Okay, so I know that it was that Bohemian Rhapsody was Dana Carvey and Mike Myers.
That is correct.
And I know that Roma was Diego Luna and someone else.
Am I misremembering or making up that Queen Latifah did The Favorite?
That is correct.
Oh my God, she did.
Both of those are correct. Jose Andres was also with Diego Luna up for Roma.
Oh,
you would have never got that.
And Trevor Noah did Black Panther.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's half.
Oh, okay. My favorite. Barbara Streisand did Black Klansman.
Yeah, when A Star is Born is right there.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it so much. Yeah,
I'm telling you,
deliciously petty. I loved it.
I'm telling you, the way that they did most of these were shocking. Mm-hmm. There's one here.
I remember
John Lewis did Green Book.
That's it.
Oh
that was one of the most disrespectful awards I've ever one of presentations I've ever seen at the Oscars. Amanda Steinberg from The Harder You Give.
No, The Hate You Give.
Or The Hate You Give. Yeah, The Hate You Give.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, the HCA award winner, Hate You Give. But yeah.
Serena Williams did A Star is Born. I remember that.
Yep.
Oh God, I'd forgotten about
that. Which makes no sense. But do you remember who presented Vice?
I think I've blocked out everything that has to do with that movie.
I do not remember.
I don't know.
Tom Morello from the guitar
player. My God,
right.
Oh my God, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I had completely forgotten about that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
I thought the John Lewis one was...
That was a
choice. John Lewis one
was bullshit.
Abysmal.
I sat there.
Were made.
I sat there that night and I went, what the fuck are we doing? That was very, very disrespectful. Who kicked off the night with a live performance at the Oscars?
It was Queen with Adam Lambert.
That's correct. Who presented? See, there was a controversy this year as well. They didn't initially invite the winners from the year before, from the 2017-2018 Oscars.
Right.
They were the last second because people were so pissed off.
Yeah.
They didn't invite them, so but they ended up presenting the lead actor Oscars and actress Oscars. So it was Sam Rockwell and Frances McDormand. They gave out Best Actress.
Yep.
And Gary Oldman and Allison Janney gave out Best Actor. So who presented Best Supporting Actress?
I remember this one. This is Maya Rudolph, Tina and Amy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that was the first
I
award
can
of the
picture
night.
the first of the night. Yeah.
It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they presented that to Regina King. Who helped Regina King get up on the stage?
It was
a beautiful
Chris
man, right?
Evans.
Yes, it was Chris Evans.
The first gentleman of that year's Oscar is just helping everyone get up on the stage. He's
Captain America himself. Yes.
Truly.
There's
just
one every
living up to
year.
the name.
There's one every year. Who presented Best Supporting Actor? This one I totally forgot about.
Wait, one of them was Charlize.
Yes, Charlize Theron was half of the.
I remember her.
Daniel Craig.
That is correct. It was Daniel Craig.
Why?
Again,
makes no sense. Who was the only BAFTA Best Actress nominee that didn't get nominated at the Oscars? Who was the only BAFTA Best Actress nominee that didn't get nominated at the Oscars?
Whenever you ask about the BAFTAs, I freeze because I'm in such like Oscar mode.
Same. I don't.
Okay. Let me think of the Brits. BAFTAs. And this was back when they were still the BAFTAs that we were used to.
Yeah, not the new BAFTAs. This was the old BAFTAs, but it was a great nomination. But it was the only nomination she got throughout the season. Do you guys give up?
Oh, wait. No, I remember. She's on my list for today. It was Viola for Widows.
It was Viola Davis
for right.
Widows. It was the only nomination for the film, too.
Yeah.
Which film won the Robert Altman Spirit Award, or the Robert Altman Award at the Indie Spirit Awards for this year?
Well, there's an ensemble.
It's an ensemble. That's correct.
Good job. That wasn't also Widows?
Nope. I don't believe Widows would qualify for that.
Yeah, no, it did have too big a budget.
Yeah, it was like a $40 million, $50 million budget.
No, I'm trying to think of the little ones.
I'm surprised Dan's not getting this right off the bat. He loves this movie.
Oh, right. It wasn't. Wasn't it like Suspiria?
It was Suspiria. Yeah.
The most random award for that movie, which like I fucking love so much. And like, really? That okay?
Who won SAG Ensemble?
Black Panther.
That's correct. Right. Chadwick Boseman's speech.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible speech. Who won Best Supporting Actress at SAG that year?
Was that the Emily Blunt?
That was Emily Blunt for A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place.
Who was nominated for a Globe, BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and SAG Award, but wasn't nominated for the Oscar this year?
In which category?
Well, of all the acting categories, this was the only person that didn't pull this out this year. They were the one person this year that didn't do that. I'll give you a hint.
Was it supporting actress?
Wait, wasn't it John David Washington?
No. John David Washington was only, I believe, nominated for a Golden Globe. He was not nominated. I
thought he had gotten SAG too.
There's no way he would have been nominated at BAFTA. His dad's not even been nominated at BAFTA.
Come on. That's
true. Right. Yeah. That would have been crazy.
Oh, wait, no, it was Ethan Hawke.
No. Ethan Hawke was not nominated at BAFTA.
Oh, fuck you,
was
BAFTA.
It Chalamet?
It was
boy.
Timothy Chalamet for Beautiful Boy. Which animated film was nominated for 2 Academy Awards? The only animated film nominated for multiple Academy Awards this year.
Oh, wait, is it Isle of Dogs?
It would be Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs. Who performed The Place Where Lost Things Go, the nominated song from Mary Poppins live at the Oscars?
I just remembered the name of the song today when I was doing research for this episode. So
it was, hold on.
Dan, this is you.
This is so you.
I can see her.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Bette Midler.
It was Bette Midler herself. Rochelle the musical. Who presented Best Picture?
Julia Roberts.
Of course she did. Harriet Tubman herself, you know?
You know what? She handled it like a pro.
She really did.
Classy. And got out there as fast as she could.
Green Book. And then got out of there.
Yep.
Give me the parties. What was the winner for Worst Picture of the Year at the Razzies? I always love to throw Razzie
was it
questions.
My least favorite movie of the year, Life Itself?
No,
it should have been Life
Itself was not nominated.
It should have been. Was this one of the years that they did like the troll thing?
No, I think this one definitely qualifies for the worst film of that year.
So
it's not Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, it was. It should have.
No,
been
it's not. It's not one of those.
Nice.
No.
Okay.
This is a truly terrible film.
All I can think of is Life Itself.
Okay.
Oh wait, was it the 50 Shades movie that came out that year?
No, that was nominated for Worst Director though.
Okay.
The film was Holmes and Watson. Yes, that's right. Because Adam McKay was a producer on this film, as well as Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, their first collaboration since Step Brothers together, and they really stunk up the joint.
Just remember hearing that was uniquely terrible.
I was also thinking of Welcome to Marwen.
Oh, that wasn't nominated.
Another movie that I had completely forgotten existed.
That was not nominated. Gotti was nominated.
Oh, Gotti.
Winchester, whatever the hell Winchester is.
Oh, right, the Helen Mirren horror.
Yes. Robin Hood, which was the Taron Egerton one with Jamie Foxx, and then the Happy Time Murders. The Melissa McCarthy film.
Look,
with the puppets.
Okay,
yeah.
Look, that only got nominated because the people did not see it the way it was meant to be seen, aka high as fuck. Because that's what I did for that, and it was a midnight screening, and I had a blast.
Who was the winner of the Razzie for Worst Actor of the Year? This is a troll. This is a troll win if there ever was a troll win, but they are the 2019 winner of Worst Actor.
Gosling for First Man?
No.
Okay, good.
I will say this. They are not a professional actor.
Oh.
It was Yalitza? No, wait, sorry. You said actor. Sorry. Never mind.
Dick move.
Oh my God, can you imagine if they did that? Can you give us a hint?
It's
not an actor.
Oh,
you can just tell us if you want to.
I'll just tell you because it's kind of hard. So this actor won for the Dinesh D'Souza documentary Death of a Nation and the Michael Moore documentary Fahrenheit 11/9.
Oh my God, Donald Trump.
It is Donald Trump was the winner of this Razzie. Yeah.
Just what the fuck?
Going alongside of him was Worst Supporting Actress winner Kellyanne Conway. So imagine you know how they do the Oscar photo, right? Of the actors. It'd be Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway, John C. Reilly for Holmes and Watson, and Melissa McCarthy for Happy Time Murders.
Wow.
And Life of the Party. She won for both of them.
All right. Yeah.
And lastly, just to dig the knife into the wound just a little bit more, what were the Oscars that Green Book won on the night?
Supporting actor, original screenplay, picture.
The textbook win in the modern era is what they want. An acting prize.
Your Coda comparison is really holding up here.
I'm telling you. And it was against and the opposite winner. The opposite film was a Netflix film that got a lot of heat during the campaign for the votes. I'm just saying.
I feel like I need to say in here, Coda is a much better film than Green Book. I just need to say that.
I was moved more by Coda, but that doesn't mean that's a good thing.
So I will agree that Coda is better than Green Book.
That's
either.
That's a win, Dan. That's a win right there.
I will take it. Yes.
All right. Shoulda, coulda, woulda time. It's when we start replacing.
Now we get to the meat of it.
Now we get to the real fun of all of this, where we are just going to sit back and we're going to just replace everything from this year. I felt like this was real easy for me because at In Session Film we did awards, and so I had my personal awards, but I was able to update a bunch of them, and I did some rewatches and some replacement. For Best Picture, I just want to give everybody out there, I don't know what you guys did. We're going to do 10 films for Best Picture. I know that this year is 8, but the sliding scale is the stupidest thing that ever existed, and it always should have just been 10 or 5, and I think 10 is perfect, so we're going to do 10. So if you don't have 10 on y'all's list, you can add 2 more. I'll give you that, because 8 or 9 is 10. 9 was bullshit. I was like, just nominate another film. Come on. All right. Let's do adapted screenplay first. And let's go to Dan.
Adapted screenplay. Okay. Yeah. So wait, so what are we doing exactly? Am I saying what, like,
is there anything from this category? Is there anything from this lineup that you would keep? And one, do you like the winner? Would you keep the winner?
All right.
Would you keep the winner?
Mm-hmm.
Would you keep anything in this lineup? And then what are you replacing it with? And and then with your replacements, is anything changing?
Okay, cool. So I love that BlacKkKlansman won the Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar. I love that Spike Lee got that, and one of the best moments of the night, him literally climbing Samuel L. Jackson like a tree up there on the Oscar stage. That was an incredible moment. Truly, like, if there was a winner of this Oscar ceremony, it was Spike Lee.
Yep.
At least in the the public relations sphere. That said, it would not have been my pick for the win.
Okay.
Of these, that would have been If Beale Street Could Talk.
Okay.
The only ones that I would keep for my personal lineup of this would be BlacKkKlansman, Beale Street, and Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Okay.
Not that I don't like Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I think it's kind of bullshitty that the whole screenplay is considered adapted when it's just 2 stories out of like many.
That's fair.
I just feel like that's weird. And the ones that I would add to that.
Oh, and A Star Is Born. You kick out A Star Is Born too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would add in first The Hate You Give, which is an incredible film, really, really strong adaptation of the YA novel. And in the last spot, I would give to probably Widows.
Oh, I love that. I love that Widows.
Like, and in a real squeaker over Suspiria, because I love Suspiria.
And your winner is Beale Street, like you mentioned.
Yeah, my winner would be Beale Street. Yeah.
Okay, Sophia.
Our lists are very similar. I'm only keeping BlacKkKlansman, Can You Ever Forgive Me, and If Beale Street Could Talk in this category. And then I'm going to add in Suspiria.
Yeah,
I love this version of Suspiria.
So good.
It's so good. And then I'm also adding in Burning, because I think this is just a phenomenal feat of adaptation. But my winner is Barry Jenkins for If Beale Street Could Talk. I love that Spike Lee won. Absolutely. I loved that moment in the night, and I'm so happy that he finally got an Oscar. But if I'm just judging the category for achievement in screenwriting and adaptation, no one knows how to capture Baldwin like Barry Jenkins. And I think If Beale Street Could Talk is easily one of the best movies of the year and was slept on in so many ways.
It is the best movie of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the definitive person on Baldwin because he's been the only one from the estate that's ever been able to get the permission to adapt it. And he did it
perfectly.
Absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
I would keep Barry Jenkins and the Black Klansman Quartet. And that's all I would keep from this lineup. I would nominate Lee Jung-dong and Lee Chang-dong for Burning.
That is a really that's one of the best Haruki Murakami adaptations that I've ever seen, and people just need to stop doing it other than them.
I nominate Flynn and McQueen for Widows, and my last spot I would give to Paul Dano and Zoe Kazan for Wildlife, which I think is a beautiful film, and it would right a lot of wrongs finally to give Paul Dano an Oscar nomination, but I also think that movie is it's a really great debut. It's the best debut of the year, in my opinion. And I give it to Barry Jenkins. I think it was real close in the real Oscar vote, but in terms of adaptation, it's so difficult to take James Baldwin's stellar work and try to make something out of it. And there have been so many people that have tried to do it for decades, and even with the rights to do it, and they've just not been able to crack the code, and he did it so gracefully. And as a follow-up to Moonlight, just the mirroring of these two pieces together, these broken love stories, I just think that they're it's complicated, but it's poetic, and he's able to capture all that. So that's a clean sweep for our adapted screenplay winner here. Original screenplay. Let's go to Sophia. What you got, Sophia?
Okay. Let's see. For original screenplay, I am keeping The Favorite, First Reformed, and Roma. And I am adding in, I'm so sorry to the Paul Mescalites, 8th Grade.
Oh my God.
And Shoplifters.
Oh, okay.
And I love Shoplifters. I think this is it's a really nice category that I'm looking at. My fixes here. And you know what? For this category, I was debating a little bit of where I was going to go, but I'm going Schrader here for First Reformed. That was my screenplay, I think, of the year, besides The Favorite, which would be very close.
Yeah.
But I have Poor Things in the back of my mind.
Yeah, the Poor Thing. Yeah, it's like it's sitting there now. No. I have The Favorite, First Reformed, and Roma as well. And I kicked out obviously Vice and Green Book. I'm not a monster.
We're getting rid of those.
Tamara Jenkins for Private Life.
Okay.
That screenplay is so perfect and very true. And then David Diggs and Rafael Casal for Blind Spotting.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah.
That screenplay
that's really good.
That announced them both. That movie was still the surprise of the year. I think that some of the directorial decisions are what make the film a little bit, lesser over time, but that screenplay, the dialogue, the honesty, the familiarness for both of them rings true throughout. And, I was debating on what to give. No, I didn't debate on this. It's going to Paul Schrader for First Reform. That screenplay is ridiculous. The man's just like, when he's at the height of it and knows what he's doing and he's staying off Facebook, man can write a hell of a screenplay. Okay. And, Papa Paul's insane. He's a madman. That movie is so mean. And
so lean and mean.
And it's, I'm not a big fan of the card counter, Master Gardener is kind of a wild, insane movie, but I feel
I
like
do love Sigourney Weaver in it though.
Yeah, she's
Sigourney. Oh my god,
so much in that movie. But no, I think that this is another entry into his meditative sad boy genre, writing about it in a journal. And I think that his last two films, maybe his next film with Richard Gere, maybe it changes it, but I feel like this might have been the one and only chance we could have ever given him an Oscar, because any PR team now will have a nightmare on their hands. But yeah, it's also perfect. It's a perfect script. I love it. But Dan, your lineup?
Well, the winner sucks. The favorite should have won this in a walk.
Yeah, that's the other
really
thing.
Easily.
I mean, of this, I mean, like I know Paul Schrader's not going to win this thing in an Oscar vote. In my vote, he will. But how the favorite, the most nominated film on the nomination morning, doesn't win, and it's a perfect screenplay winner.
It's so funny and so literary and erudite, but also like body and hysterically funny. It's a near perfect screenplay. Yeah. And God, if that and Beale Street had won, what a year. But I keep of this lineup, I keep just The Favorite and First Reformed. And then the first thing I would add, 8th Grade. That is a brilliant screenplay. Absolutely, just it's the best horror movie of the year.
God,
yeah. That pool party.
Ooh.
Like
the whole damn movie. It feels like it's tense the whole time.
I remembered the stories from when Pulp Fiction first came out, and people were like having heart attacks during the scene where he
with the needle.
Yeah, with the needle.
With the adrenaline.
Every other scene in 8th grade, I was having that kind of reaction. Like, oh my God. I can't. The scene in the car. I can't. It's so good. The second one that I would add is Tully, which I think is one of Diablo Cody's best screenplays, if not the absolute best. And I think that movie got unfairly slept on. I think Charlize is also brilliant in it. One of her best performances. I love that movie a whole lot. And then the last spot, I wish I could have a tie.
Nope, no ties.
But I can't. I know. It doesn't happen. And so I will trade the balls to the wall creative energy, but really messiness of Sorry to Bother You gets left just on the outside for the fantastically mean-spirited Hereditary.
Okay. All right. Okay. And your winner is the favorite?
Yeah, the favorite would be
personal winner.
Yeah. Although like 8th grade, very, very close runner up.
Okay. All right.
The favorite losing original screenplay, that was really when I knew
that was my villain origin story.
So when you start pouring the drinks heavy that night, yeah, God.
That was so
that's when I knew. I was like, well, it's over. It's done. It's gonna win. And this hurt.
And I was convinced at that point in the evening that it was going to go home empty-handed. Absolutely.
The favorite.
Convinced.
Oh yeah. And then of course Olivia.
Yeah.
Okay. Supporting actor. I'll kick this one off. I really like the lineup, but I'm only keeping 2 people from the Oscar lineup. I will keep Adam Driver from BlacKkKlansman, and I will keep Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me. I will like to nominate Hugh Grant for Paddington 2, as he should have been nominated. Daniel Kaluuya for Widows, which is a truly terrifying performance, and then I would like to nominate and give the win to Steven Yeun for Burning, which is a truly fantastic performance that showcased why he's more than just like Glenn from The Walking Dead at this point, and a very serious actor, someone that has now gone on to get Oscar nominated for Minari and be in films with Jordan, from directed by Jordan Peele and others. But I think Young is perfect in this, and in this sort of Hitchcockian film. I was just glued to the screen when he was on, and I think there's that dinner sequence. I think when they're out with the friends towards the end of the film, that it's just, I don't know. There's something really sinister about him the entire way through, and that final shot of that movie, and what happens. And if you've never seen Burning, go do yourself a favor. It's a fantastic film. What a slow burn, no pun intended, that movie is. And I love him so much. And yeah, I'm just thinking about Stephen Yeun right now. That's a dangerous thing to do. So I'm going to kick it over to Dan. And Dan, who is in your supporting actor lineup?
I will from this lineup, I will keep Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, who should have won, and I may or may not have cried for him when he did not win.
He got to see Barbara on stage. I think he's okay.
And the look, they knew what they were doing. The directors of this show.
I think they were like, "You're not going to win. You're not going to win the Oscar, but we'll give you Barbara Streisand talking about Black Klansmen." That'll never.
Doesn't matter. He got to be in her presence. That was
how John Lewis didn't talk about Black Klansmen and how Barbara was not talking about A Star Is Born. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, these are just decisions.
I'm telling you, that was Barbara, and it's brilliant. I love it.
I bet they asked her originally. For
would you like to talk about A Star Is Born? No, but I'd like to tell you what I really like to talk about.
Yes.
I saw the screener the other night, and I have questions for Spike. Yes. Anyway, sorry, Dan.
Yeah, so keeping Richard E. Grant from this lineup, and part of me wants to keep Mahershala as I'm so sorry that you had to go through all that, and he happens to be really good. But
he is really good in the film. I don't think he's the only good thing about really that movie.
That is fair. The people that I would add to this lineup. Number one, Alessandro Nivola in Disobedience.
Oh,
great pick.
God, my God, he devastating, absolutely devastating. He's incredible in that movie. Number two person that I would add to this lineup, Nicholas Hoult for The Favorite.
Yes,
who is hilarious, so funny, just incredible.
Didn't get enough love. I don't know why he didn't get any love whatsoever throughout I get that those three performances are just so. I mean, they're so front and stage, but he is delivering incredible work there.
I don't know how you can. I mean, the duck.
Yeah.
The duck, when he pushes Emma Stone into the ditch. The comic timing is just mwah.
That's why he works so well on The Great too, with that dialogue as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before I do the last one, and you can edit this out, I could not remember if they ran Ben Foster as lead or supporting for Leave No Trace.
They ran him as supporting.
Okay, so that's what I thought. Okay, so and the third one that I would add is Ben Foster in Leave No Trace.
And I'm totally leaving that in because that's just a good question.
Okay, fine. Because I really could not remember because he in so my crazy. Mind it's one of those cases he's kind of borderline between lead supporting, but whatever category he was running in, the man deserved a nomination, and the fact that he still hasn't gotten nominated for it, mind-blowing. Anyway, and here's where I have to be like, I love you, Mahershala, but Brian Tyree Henry, if we could talk.
Yeah.
I talk about a one scene wonder.
Yeah.
That monologue. Yeah. And my winner would actually be Alessandro Nivola.
That's a good winner.
I think he's perfect for that movie.
That movie is so underrated. Maybe I'll bring it up later.
Underrated.
I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know. Sophia, supporting actor for you.
Yeah. I'm keeping Adam Driver for Black Klansman. And
you keeping Adam Driver?
Surprises everywhere you look.
Just never thought it would happen. Not in the year of 2023 that I think it would happen.
Seeing him in the flannel, it's great. I was happy that he got his first nomination. And of course, Richard E. Grant, who was my preferred winner of the year of the nominees. I loved him. I also have Brian Tyree Henry for If Beale Street Could Talk and Nicholas Hoult from The Favorite. I remember seeing Nicholas Hoult in The Favorite and just thinking, oh my God, he is our next comedic star. I want him in all of these very dry British films. I think he understood it so well. But my winner, and he would have been my favorite acting winner period of the year, is Stephen Yeun in Burning. I feel like he is one. I think this movie is perfect. It is one of my favorite, if not my favorite movie of 2018. I love this movie year in particular, but I think that film doesn't work with someone as beautiful yet menacing as Stephen Yeun. He gets that character Ben so right, and it would have just been the perfect win in the category. And yeah, one of my favorites of all time if he could have pulled it off, but so rare that they go with foreign language performances.
Yeah.
I also want to give a big, huge shout out to someone who probably should have gotten an Oscar nomination, Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther.
Yeah.
Still the best villain they have ever had.
I do want to mention also the two nominees that we didn't talk about, which is Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born. Good for him. And
good for him.
Good for him. He's really soured on me over the last couple of years, but whatever. And then for eating a piece of chicken, Sam Rockwell in Vice. Listen, one of the more embarrassing nominations I think we've had in the last 15 years. I mean,
I really
what the fuck did he do in that movie? He did nothing in that movie.
It was
the summary, it is just it's the afterglow plus playing a caricature of a real person, in a movie that the actors branch would clearly go for. It just all amounted to that horrid performance getting a nomination.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't know if it's terrible. It's just there's nothing there. There's nothing.
Impersonation.
He's
not even a good impersonation.
But because it's not we've seen hundreds of Bush impersonations, right?
Yeah.
And McKay's worked with probably the best person to ever do George W. Bush and Will Ferrell. Mm-hmm. So it's clearly and the guy's hidden away purposefully because the movie is demonstrating that it was Dick Cheney that was really running this country, not George W. Bush. So really the only scene you get is a drunken George W. Bush at an event, which is 5 seconds. And then the chicken eating scene, and that's it. There's nothing in that. It is truly one of those performances where you're just you're right, Sophia. It is an afterglow, but an afterglow for what? There's nothing there.
I know.
I need to get Sam Rockwell out of this playing Republican, dirty, terrible people era and get him to play somebody worth a shit in their life. God.
I like Sam Rockwell too.
I love him.
He's also a big fan of Bravo.
Love him in general, but
he's a big fan of Bravo shows.
Yeah, he and his wife watch all of the Housewives shows. It's very funny. They go and watch What Happens Live. Anyway, tangent.
Gotta go look up those videos now. I gotta see him on What's Live. Okay, best supporting actress. Dan, you'll start this one.
Oh, I hate that I have to start with this one. For the sake of my sanity, I'm just going to keep the ladies from The Favorite in the categories in which they were campaigned, even though Emma Stone's the lead. I'm just going to say
Emma Stone is the lead. You are. Thank you, Dan. I've been saying this for years, and people think I'm fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to put that out there. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to keep them.
No, that's fine.
And I would keep both of them in this category. Until this year, I think this is far and away Emma Stone's best performance.
I agree.
the complexity that she gets with this character, the way that she uses her sense of humor and her physicality. It is the greatest hand job ever given on film.
Eat your heart out, Taylor Swift.
I mean, she is so, and that said, I love how just Rachel Weisz's line deliveries are like a knife in this movie. They're so sharp, and she is. I think originally it was supposed to be Kate Winslet in that role, and I could also see that.
That could have kind of worked, but I'm not. But there's something about Rachel Weisz. It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. I love that Regina King won the Oscar for this movie. I'm not sure if she would be my actual pick of this lineup. Okay. When between her and Emma Stone, it's very, very close.
That's fair.
Amy Adams, not in my lineup at all. No. I love that Marina de Tavira got nominated. She would not make my lineup, unfortunately. So that gives me 2 spots that I have to fill in. And this is the toughest category this year for me. There are so many incredible female supporting performances this year. And I hate that I have to narrow it down to
it's 5. Math. We hate math.
It's simple, stupid math, and I hate it. So okay, I'll just do the 2 that I love the most, even though I'm not sure that they're the best performances, and thus the ones that probably deserve it more. So here we go. Sakura Ando in Shoplifters.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
That scene at the end with her, and when they're questioning her, just completely like broke me in a way that I was like unable to move from my seat until the credits finished rolling. I was still so moved by that. And she's incredible. And then I am prepared to get flack for this, but I will defend this until the end of my days. But yes, Blake Lively should have gotten an Oscar nomination for A Simple Favor. I stand by it. Thank you, Sophia.
I'm not even kidding.
You want to hear? You want to hear something, Dan? You want to hear something, Dan?
What?
I have her as well.
Oh, yeah.
That is an incredible performance. I don't understand why she didn't get nominated, and I don't understand why the costumes didn't get nominated either.
The costumes. Oh my God.
It's incredible stuff.
Yeah, with much love to Rachel McAdams in Disobedience.
Yes.
Who Disobedience got like unfairly shafted this year. Frankly.
That was put in like, I felt like that movie released in that year.
It was
and
Bleecker Street.
Oh well, there you go. Well,
right.
Well,
yeah, and also shout out to Elizabeth Debicki in Widows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love tall Elizabeth Debicki being utilized in that movie. And your winner was it Dan? Who did you pick as a winner?
Oh, Emma.
Okay.
Emma or Regina. I can't. You
can't pick. All right. Yeah. We'll give you Emma. How about that?
Okay, fine.
Okay. Sophia, supporting actress.
Okay, so I'm keeping Emma and Rachel in the favorite. Have to have them both there. I also just kept the categories as is. I thought about switching it up, but that was too difficult in an already difficult exercise. And then I, of course, am keeping Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. I love that win. She also looked so amazing at the Oscars. One of my favorite moments.
That dress is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. My God.
Then I have Blake Lively for A Simple Favor. That performance is just delicious.
The way she line delivery a baby throughout.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my God.
And then my last spot for her many roles, many faces.
I know what you're doing.
Yes. Here. Thank you, Sophia. I knew you wouldn't let me down.
I'm going with Tilda Swinton in Suspiria.
Yeah. I love
my
her
favorite,
so much.
it may be my favorite working actor. I just like everything about her I love in this movie. And the moment that I found out she was playing multiple characters too, it rocked my world, truly.
Yeah.
I think, as tempted as I am to give it to Tilda, because I always want to give Tilda more Oscars.
And the sheer difficulty, my God.
I mean, she's playing, like we said, multiple roles, but I'm going to stick with Regina King, actually. I really like the win. I think it's a time that the Academy went for the right performance this year. So I'm going to stick with Regina. But Tilda would be my number 2.
Yeah. I have Regina King and I have Rachel Weisz for the favorite. I do not have anyone else in this category. That means I don't have Emma Stone. And she's not in lead actress either, so I would not nominate Emma Stone, even though I love her performance. She would be she'd be my number 6. I love her.
Oh.
I also nominated Blake Lively for A Simple Favor. I also nominated.
I can't tell you how happy this makes me.
I thought
I might have been the only one. I was like, am I really crazy?
Yeah.
I also nominated the shape-shifting Tilda Swinton for Suspiria.
Good.
I love you both so much.
And I was the one that decided to nominate the best performance from Disobedience. I nominated Rachel McAdams for Disobedience, who I think is
so good,
incredible, and also had to have both Rachels in there since they were both in Disobedience together. And I was again, man, Sophia's reading off my cheat sheet. Because we're gonna have the same winner again for the 4th category in a row. I almost gave it to Tilda because I think that's such a unique role that she has, and her work with Luca has been incredible. But
oh my God,
I mean, there's something about the subtlety and heartbreaking nature of Regina King's performance in If Beale Street Could Talk that it's for the winners of this year. It feels like an anomaly in the Oscar year.
Yes.
Give a movie that is not over the top. It's a very subtle performance, but it is so captivating and moving. And I understand everyone's always like, well, awards bodies just love Regina King. There's a reason, because she's one of our great actors we have working today, period. And I think that I always cry at that moment when she's in is it Mexico, and she pulls off the wig, and it's that close up of her staring at the mirror, trying to just get the courage enough to do this really difficult mission that she is on for Fonny and for her daughter as well. And so I was rooting for nothing more than her to win this Oscar this year. And the fact that she won it, I'll never take that away from her. It's incredible work. So
she's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
But I love Emma Stone. I think that until this year, the favorite was Emma Stone's best performance.
Yep.
And then this year, she delivers a performance that blows that one out of the water. And I think, I think Amy Adams is a choice, and
lazy nomination.
And I think Marina de Trevera, it's a good nomination.
Yeah,
I'm happy it happened. I'm happy it exists. But that also is another nomination that felt so much because of a campaign.
Yeah.
And Alfonso Cuarón mentioning both of these women every single chance he got. It felt a little manufactured, but it's also it was a big, nice surprise on Oscar morning.
Yes.
Sophia, your thoughts on Amy Adams and Vice and how this was the last time she was nominated for an Oscar?
Oh, God. Well, I have a lot of thoughts on Miss Amy Adams and her poor choices, maybe management, but I will say I will count Sharp Objects as a really good choice for her and a great performance. So I like to think about that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I don't love her in the Adam McKay in the same way that I can say about Jennifer Lawrence. The Adam McKay, David O. Russell space is just like not working for her.
Not a fan of Fighter. Not a fan of American Hustle.
oh God. Those performances, I think, in those films, right, are not indicative of what she can do.
Yeah.
Like if you look at her in The Master or Arrival, like some of these performances
Enchanted.
that she's given us, even Enchanted, yes. Not
Junebug.
even Enchanted period for her. But she's, I think like there's some, I don't know. It's a hard thing to think about with Amy Adams, but I am hopeful for Night Bitch. I think Marielle Heller can bring her back.
It's a person who actually has a vision. And and also Marielle Heller, I mean, she got 2 Oscar nominees this year in 2018. She got another one a couple I think like literally the next year for Tom Hanks. She knows how to work with actors and get them what they want, which is Oscar nominations.
Yes, she does.
And she's I love Marielle Heller a lot. Okay.
I need to give a big shout out in this category to Haley Lee Richardson and Support the Girls. Who steals every damn scene she's in that movie and is such a ray of freaking sunshine. I can't stand it.
Absolutely great.
And also, since Eric's not here, I have to say that yes, Claire Foy deserved for First Man.
Oh, is Eric
You're
big
all
time?
a bunch of boys. She deserved. That line reading is gold.
She's very good in First Man. I really do like Claire Foy in that movie. Does Eric not like that performance? Is that not like on record?
I forget I forget if he is on record on like really loving it or really hating it, but I remember him having very strong opinions on it one way or the other.
I'll text him later and we'll just add that in post, I guess. Sophia, Best Actor.
God, the most painful category for me. Really, I think maybe even worse than original screenplay. This was a very, very tough moment for me in the night. And I just realized that I think I put someone from 2017 in my lineup. So give me a second. Oh no, I'm good. We're good here.
Okay.
Actually. Okay, I am going to keep Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate. I am happy that he was nominated because he has a nomination and I'll keep him.
And he's good.
Okay. Is that the only one you're keeping?
Hold on a second. Okay. give me a second. I had to work my way up to the good one. I just wanted to keep, I wanted to keep him because I remember that nomination just feeling so weird right throughout the season. Just like, but I love Willem Dafoe. And it's
another isn't that like another Afterglow nomination from the year before too with Florida Project.
Yeah, he was on a bit of a roll.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll never complain about him getting nominated. But my one true love here is Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. Have to have him here, of course. And then my replacements. So I am going to, of course, I'm so excited to say that I'm kicking out Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. Would have loved for that to have happened. I'm also kicking out Christian Bale for Vice. I'm sorry, goodbye. And I'm kicking out Viggo Mortensen for Green Book because I don't want anything to with that character. Lip Vallelonga.
Oh God.
Yeah, as an Italian, I'm offended. And then I'm going to add Ryan Gosling for First Man.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my favorite performances from him. I think he's wonderful.
Yes.
I'm adding Ethan Hawke for First Reformed. I think that is also just a fabulous performance. And then because I'm me and just love this man dearly, and this is the one that I needed to check on just in case, because I didn't want to do this to him and then have it be taken away. I am giving my last spot to Robert Redford for The Old Man and the Gun.
I love that so much.
So for this category, I'm not even going to pretend that I'm going to go with one of my cooler options here or someone that wasn't nominated. I'm going with the best performance of the year in the category, and that is Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. He should have won in a walk against the nominees here specifically. I can appreciate other choices maybe if we're expanding the field, but of the nominees, it is shameful that he lost to that fake teeth wearing SNL caricature. And I think his work in A Star is Born is transcendent. It's a real glow up for him, I think, improving what he can do as an actor. And yeah, I was devastated when reading all of those anonymous ballots and seeing that Rami Malek was getting like every single vote and then it was never going to happen. So I'm giving him my win here.
All right. Okay. I am, I like Cooper in this role. And I like A Star is Born for about half this movie. Sophia knows that when the agent starts coming into the fold and it starts turning into the Lady Gaga biopic that it becomes in the second half, I start really not giving a shit about it.
That's when I turn the movie off when I rewatch it. Actually, I actually tune out. I can't do anything past that moment.
I'll always remember us this way ends, and I'm like, oh, cool, the movie's over. Great. All right. What a love story. And that's the only nomination of the five from the Oscars that I like. That being said, I am replacing every single nominee from this category, which I think is the first time we've ever done that here on a retrospective, at least for myself. And I'm going to go with Ryan Gosling for First Man. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with Robert Redford for The Old Man and the Gun, which is an absolutely fantastic performance that makes me cry because it's not just a great performance, it's also a great appreciation of his entire career. And David Lowery is a genius. I am also going to nominate from a movie that not many people, I think, talk enough about from this year, but Ethan Hawke directed a movie called Blaze, and Ben Dickey's performance in Blaze is incredible. And I absolutely love it. Ben Dickey was a lifelong musician and friend of Ethan Hawke, played Blaze Foley. Give it a watch. It's great. Brady Gendreau for The Writer gives one of the most impeccable performances I've ever seen, and in that all-encompassing just masterpiece from Chloe Zhao. And then I will nominate also Ethan Hawke for First Reformed, and I will give the win, of course, to the performance that should have been nominated and should have won the category, because I think it is the best male performance of the year, and that is Ethan Hawke in First Reformed. I think that it's the best work of his career. Schrader just gets the best out of his actors, writes perfect scripts for them, these vessels for them to come out of it. It's a confused performance. It's meandering at times. It's beautifully just all comes together. And Hawke is as cold as you could be in this Schrader world where everything around him is crumbling and he doesn't know what to do. And I think that ending is insane. And I think that you buy into every bit. And I don't understand how Ethan Hawke was not nominated for an Academy Award. He's been nominated for lesser, in my opinion, Training Day. And I think that this was the moment to, you look at the nominees, and and Willem Dafoe, that's a very nice nomination, but that's easily somebody.
I'm actually going to skip it really quickly. I made a mistake here because I thought that You Were Never Really Here was a 2017 release, but it came out in the US.
No, it came out this year. Yeah,
in 2018. Yeah, so I'm going to put in Joaquin Phoenix, last minute correction. For that instead of Willem Dafoe. Okay, I just couldn't think of extras. Really,
I got you. No. Yeah. I got you. and we'll be talking about that performance in a couple of weeks on Director Watch as well. And he was close too. I almost put him at my number 6 because he won in 2017 at Cannes, and then the movie came out the next year. But yeah, Ethan Hawke. I mean, and what made me so sad was that the one thing that he won was the Indie Spirit Award, and Hawke was filming because the man's nonstop. I don't know if you guys know this. Ethan Hawke doesn't stop working. Never stopping, and he wasn't there to give a speech, so Amanda Seyfried gave the speech for him at the Indie Spirit Awards. And I was like, God damn it, the one time he could give a speech, but he should have been there Oscar night, because it's the culmination of all the things that I love about Schrader and Hawke, who has such an interesting career, and Schrader works with these actors, these male actors, and is revived them throughout his entire existence. So yeah, of the nominees of the lineup, I would have given it to Bradley Cooper because it makes no fucking sense. That movie was beloved. It's a great way to nominate it. I get that Shallow on the song, but like that's an all encompassing project by Bradley Cooper. For him not to walk away with something was bullshit. He has a movie coming out again this year. Sophia and I have already seen it. It's another all encompassing thing that you kind of sit there and you go, how the fuck is he not going to win anything there? The guy puts all of himself into this shit, and
it was the best performance nominated by
when the lineup's this week and joke, I mean, like, he sang, let's just talk about that, he sang his songs in the fucking film. Rami Malek
learned how to sing.
Did not. Like the clips for both of them, when you see those clips together, it's embarrassing that Malek won. Embarrassing.
I mean, it's like the stain on the Oscars for me. It's one of the biggest ones.
It's embarrassing. Embarrassing. But yes, Bradley Cooper was great. I would have given him the Oscar. Just not my personal Oscar, but that's okay. Dan?
He easily should have won. And he is the only one of this lineup that I would keep for my personal lineup, with my deepest apologies to my dear Christian, who I do think is one of the greatest actors living.
He's great. He's just a bad.
But he maybe didn't need this nomination.
We were almost leaning towards that, him winning for that. There was almost a world where he almost won his second Oscar because he won Critics' Choice and he won Golden Globe.
I mean, it would have been preferable to Malek.
It's better.
Say that.
I think it's better.
I do think that I actually do think he's very good in it, but he just wouldn't make my personal lineup, which you gotta start with putting Ethan Hawke in there, because that was a real snub. Like, we talk a lot about, a lot of people will talk about snubs that weren't really snubs because they were never stood a chance anyway. It's just something that wasn't on the Oscars radar. But First Reformed was on the Oscars radar. He won like every critics prize.
Yep. Like, there's a female version of that I'm sure we'll be talking about in a couple minutes.
But we will.
But usually also too in those narratives, the male version of that gets in the female version of that. It was a year where both of that didn't even happen, and it was kind of wild. I mean, I understand why. We'll just say it. Yes. I understand why Toni Collette didn't get in because of genre bias, but the fact that you nominate the screenplay means you watched the film. Did you not see his performance in that? It's nuts.
And it's easily the best work of his.
But Viggo Mortensen, because he threw the piece of chicken out the window. So that's really what got them.
It's so sad,
and it makes me so upsetting because I am like the person who champions nominate comedic performances at the Oscars, and then I have to go, but did that have to be the
not
one?
Unintentional comedy?
It's don't tempt us here.
But anyway, okay. So we got Bradley Cooper, we got Ethan Hawke, we got to put in Ryan Gosling for First Man, one of his best performances. I also have to put in Daveed Diggs for Blind Spotting, because that monologue, rap, whatever you want to call it, that is some of the most exhilarating cinema of that year or any year. I think he's incredible. And my last spot in this lineup goes to I may be one of like 5 people who have seen this movie, but there was really tiny independent film called 1985, and Corey Michael Smith plays the lead in it. Is a gay man who returns home after a long time away in New York. And he's coming back to Texas in 1985, and he's so good in it. He is so deeply sensitive and but also stoic in spots, and the way he performs with Virginia Madsen and Michael Chiklis, who plays his parents. It's really just beautiful work, and it's from tiny independent movie that no one saw. I understand why that movie got no nominations, but I think he's really, really excellent in it, and I highly recommend everyone seek that out if you can find it.
I have to give it a look. I haven't seen that. Yeah.
So it also, like, there's a moment near the end of the movie that Virginia Madsen just like, this was also the year of Love, Simon, and everyone talks about Jennifer Garner's, little moment. Virginia Madsen has a better one at the end of this movie, and it reduces me to tears every time. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, and I think he's great in it. But yeah, there's no question this was Ethan Hawke's Oscar, and it was robbed from him by the Academy.
Yeah. It hurts. Yeah, I know.
We could have had a few, like, in so many categories right this year, we could have had a few really good winners, and they went with the worst possible option.
Yep.
Yeah. They just were like, you know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna go with what we like. And it's like, well, nobody likes that. And 5 years later, looking at this actor lineup, it fucking doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm really just like still not over the fact that the evening started out with Black Panther winning production and costume design, like Black women winning in craft categories for like the first time ever, and they're like so deserved, and we end with
this. It was a real onslaught of, well, there was one bright spot at the end of the night, and it was a complete surprise because the way it was going, I thought, well, here comes Glenn Close. Sorry, Kevin Jacobson.
And honestly, I wouldn't have been mad.
I wouldn't have been mad at it.
No, me either.
But what we got was pretty great.
It was so much better.
Was Olivia Colman for The Favorite winning Best Actress, it was great enough because of the speech, which is one of the greatest speeches in Oscar history. I know.
There's a reason I quoted it at the top of this show. Yeah. It is iconic.
Oh, Lady Gaga. That's always still my favorite part, where it just she's,
when she blows the raspberry to the prompter telling her to please wrap up.
When she's like she's like thanking her husband, she says he's gonna cry, and then his reaction like, I'm not gonna cry. No. Best Actress. So I say all that by saying I like this Best Actress lineup. I think it's a really fascinating Best Actress lineup. I don't think, as much as I do love Olivia Colman, I don't think she was the right winner. I would have given it to Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me? Because I think that is a performance that is truly great, and I don't think we'll ever get a chance to give Melissa McCarthy an Oscar ever again. Because she always is working with her husband, and that's never a good idea. I think Glenn Close is good and a very fine movie. Lifetime could have released that movie and she could have won an Emmy for it, so totally fine. Lady Gaga, very, good in half a movie as well. Yalitza Aparicio, very good work in Roma. I don't know if I would have nominated her. That's just me. Olivia Colman, category fraud. She's a supporting actress because I think Emma's the lead of that movie, but I understand why she's in it. It's a very good performance. All three of those performances in that movie from those women are extraordinary. That being said, I'm taking every single actress out. of this category as well. I'm not keeping anyone. I would like to nominate Catherine Hahn for Private Life, Viola Davis for Widows, Kiki Lane for If Beale Street Could Talk, Thomasin McKenzie for Leave No Trace, and Carey Mulligan for Wildlife. I think all those performances are truly great performances, and she was my winner then. She's still my winner now, and she should have won. The BAFTA nomination shouldn't have just been the only thing she should have got. Viola Davis is extraordinary in Widows, a movie that I still love, and I think that Steve McQueen, one of our great filmmakers working today, robbed across the board. This movie not even getting a single nomination is ridiculous. This is the kind of movie also too, like I didn't understand why it didn't make any money either. It was a great movie. Debicki's awesome. Cynthia Erivo, Michelle Rodriguez, Liam Neeson, Don't Talk to the Media,
Kaluuya,
Colin Farrell, Robert Duvall,
Kaluuya,
Kaluuya. Like I nominated him earlier, fantastic. But it's Viola Davis giving a performance that we never get to see her play.
Yeah,
it's a contemporary badass. It's it harkens to a lot of like Michael Mann.
We got to see her play it for 5 years on TV, but
yeah, but
I was kind of thinking,
but not to but that show is so campy and wild and takes so many random fucking turns. This is grounded so fun, at least. It's a wild show. But I just there's so many moments of just raw vulnerability that you get to see her in this. And again, we don't get a lot of African American women winning Best Actress. It would have been great to see her get nominated. It would have been great to see her win. But I think it's not that the lineup from the Oscars is bad. I just think all 5 of these performances they carry with me. I almost gave it to Kiki Lane too, and If Beale Street Could Talk, who is someone that you are with her that entire film. She is guiding you through her experience, and so both of those performances are incredible. So that's my Best Actress lineup. I know I might have done some blasphemy here and people might get mad, but I'm living my truth. Dan, your Best Actress lineup.
I absolutely love that Olivia Colman won this Oscar, not just because the speech is so incredible, because she is so fantastic in that movie. Her comic timing is always impeccable. She's able to make things that you would not think are comedic at all. She's able to get laughs out of them, and everything in it is so great. The control over her face is no one else in this lineup can match it. It's fantastic. And I'm so happy she won, and she also probably would have been my vote if I'm being honest. Very happy for Yalitza Aparicio would not have nominated her. Glenn Close single-handedly saving that movie from utter mediocrity is, she's doing yeoman's work. And I would, like I said, I would not have been upset if she won. I do think it's a great performance. There are few moments that just like made me gasp, like sort of stopped me in my tracks. And Melissa McCarthy, everything you said, Ryan, she's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fantastic. For my personal lineup, I found it very difficult, but I would keep, I would keep, since we're keeping Olivia Colman in there, I'd keep Olivia, and I'd keep Glenn, and I'd keep Melissa.
Okay.
And I would put in number 1 with a bullet, Toni Collette in Hereditary.
Yep.
It's the female performance of the year. It's one of the best female performances of the decade, if you ask me. And the fact that she only has 1 Oscar nomination to her name is offensive.
Yeah.
She is one of the greatest actresses working today. And then the other slot, as much as I much love to Elsie Fisher in 8th Grade, and much love to Amanda Stenberg in The Hate U Give, who lead those movies with such aplomb and go to places deep within some actresses twice their age have difficulty getting to. That's so great. But Charlize Theron in Tully is absolutely one of the best performances of the year. People slept on that movie way too hard.
Some people slept during that movie. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to make the joke. That was I didn't. I just wanted to make it. It was right there. It was right there. It was right there. I'm sorry. No, it was actually probably his other film, The Candidate, that people slept through, right? Because didn't he have 2 films, Reitman?
Yeah. The was it The Candidate? It was. What was it actually called? The Front Runner.
The Front Runner. That's what it was. Yeah, the one with Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
And also, like, big shout out to Nicole Kidman in Destroyer. I think that's one of her best performances. And Maggie Gyllenhaal in The Kindergarten Teacher. Ooh. I love.
I forgot about that one. Oh my God.
But Charlize, when Charlize is on, she is one of the best actresses working, and she is on in Tully. You feel every bit of that character's just tiredness and everything she's going through, the way she finds that younger self within her. I think it's so beautiful. And she's funny and dramatic. She gets to do it all, and I love her in that movie.
Yeah. So Colette's your winner?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured. Okay. Sophia?
This was really hard for me too, because I also really like this lineup. And I'll start by saying that I think Glenn Close is really good in The Wife, and just gets a bad, rap because the movie isn't good. But I think she's delivering really.
Nobody
really
would have watched
caliber.
The Wife if it wasn't for her.
No, I know, but I think people are.
No, I'm not saying that as a bad thing.
Not you necessarily, right? But I think people discount her because she's been nominated so many times, and they're like, oh, it's Glenn's time to win and everything. But it's not necessarily, the award isn't Best Actress in a great movie. So
yeah. I mean, well,
I'll just say that
she also peaked in her speech, because that Golden Globe speech was incredible.
That was incredible.
So
and then,
good.
And then you're like, well, you have to keep doing this. And it was almost like she was repeating herself at the Critics' Choice and then at SAG. So,
it's hilarious. She went up there for the Golden Globes. She did not expect it.
No,
it's fantastic. She was so in the moment then, and I think after that,
I felt a little manufactured.
Expected a bit.
Yeah.
And also, Olivia was winning at the same place as she was. So, and it always goes back to, is the movie with the most nominations really going to walk away with nothing? And it was the film that was nominated for Best Picture. That's why we've learned from this win that, like, you kind of have to have Best Picture, because they get lazy and they start, giving a lot of prizes to films that are nominated for Best Picture. Anyway, sorry, Sophia, you're 5. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep, I know I gave that praise to Glenn, but I am going to kick her out of my personal lineup, even though I love her. I'm again, sorry, Kevin. I'm going to keep Olivia Colman for The Favorite, because I absolutely love the performance and think she's just comedic perfection in the movie. I'm also keeping Melissa McCarthy. I actually go back and forth with who I would give the win to in this category often, and I do tend to choose her sometimes, or think that it would be a really good win, because I love the performance. And like you said, Ryan, when are we ever going to have another opportunity to give Melissa McCarthy an Oscar?
If we gave Oscars to comedies more often, and if she stopped working with her husband for long enough, you could do it.
I mean, we could give Olivia Colman, like, she's been nominated twice since. We are going to give Olivia Colman probably another Oscar in our lifetime. Like, I don't think she's going to walk away just with one. She's that incredible of an actress.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy, it feels like it's one of those where you're like, 5 years later, you're like, yeah, that was the moment. That was the moment we were going to do it. You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, like, she came really close for Bridesmaids too.
She did. She did.
And that would have been a great win.
Maybe it just needs to, like, one a decade. We'll just have to keep doing this one time a decade with her,
Yeah. And all that, makes me think, like, this was Glenn's time too. But I also would have given her an Oscar many times before.
Because they're not making that Sunset Boulevard movie right now. You know what I mean?
Know.
Look, if y'all saw her when she did it the last time on Broadway, she's not going to win for
her. Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll go see it with Nicole Scherzinger next time I'm in London.
Jesus. All right.
Okay, anyway, I'll report back. Yes! My additional nominees here. I also put in Toni Collette for Hereditary. I love the performance. More love needs to go to our Scream queens and people in horror films. I would nominate Viola Davis for Widows. I love that performance. Catherine Hahn for Private Life is my 6. I think that she's fantastic in that movie, but my last spot, I'm going to go with Regina Hall for Support the Girls.
I love that.
Yeah. I really love her in that movie, and I feel like she did get love from the New York Film Critics Circle that year, but I feel like she's an actor who's kind of underappreciated, and I thought this movie was a lot of fun, and I thought that she gave a fantastic performance.
And she's really good.
Your winner?
My winner is Toni Collette for Hereditary.
Damn right.
I'm just like,
I was banging that drum all year, and Hereditary is a film I've lessened on it, I think, over time. I'm a Rosemary's Baby stan, and I feel that this film sometimes leans a little heavily on that as an influence, but I do love a lot of the scares in it, and the thing that I always fixate on from the movie that I do love is Toni Collette's performance. Yeah. So she would be my winner.
She'd be in like a 6 to 10 range. I don't know where she'd be, somewhere around there, but she's like in the top 10 for me.
Yeah, I feel like she is someone who is giving you like capital A acting and also really subtle interior work in other moments in that movie. It's absolutely stunning, incredible work.
The way her face contorts in certain scenes is
that fucking face on your face. Yeah, I always love her delivery.
The frown she gets before she explodes during that scene is incredible.
That was that scene alone. I was like, how does the Oscars not go for this? I don't understand. Yeah. Like it's kind of everything you want in a movie.
Horror, baby.
Yeah, I know. They do it the next year too with Lupita. I don't understand why they don't see that these are truly transcendent, all-encompassing roles. It's about finding the best film, not just the best film in a certain genre and the best performance in a certain genre, So, okay. Director and picture. We're almost done. We're almost out of here. Dan, best director. Who are you keeping? Who are you replacing?
Director.
Who are you giving the win?
I'm very happy for Alfonso that he won for Roma. I think that there are many aspects of that movie. It is a movie that I admire and respect more than I love, but I think that it's of these nominees, it's one of the strongest achievements. That said, I also love what Spike Lee does with BlacKkKlansman, and Yorgos Lanthimos. Obviously, his direction of The Favorite is incredible. I love that Paweł Kowalkowski got nominated for Cold War. I think that is so cool. And also, the man is a snack and a half.
We don't talk about it enough.
Same with the lead in that movie.
Yes, Tomasz Kot. Oh,
both of them.
He's like 100 feet tall.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Tall drink of water. Oh, give it to me.
It's a skyscraping performance.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam McKay, we can totally just do without.
Fucking Christ. That's ridiculous. Thank God it didn't happen again for Don't Look Up. If it would have, who thinks he's making like network there, and it's like, give me a break.
Yeah. This category was really, really hard for me to do this year. It gives me no pleasure to kick out Paweł Kowalkowski. It gives me great pleasure to kick out Adam McKay. And if I'm being really honest, like the other three, like Cuarón and Leanne Lanthimos are all like hanging on by a thread because the other two that I want most to nominate are people who I just felt like their direction completely elevated the movie into something really different and special. The first one with a bullet, Steve McQueen for Widows. The way he directed that movie, this one of the best scenes of the year is when he just stuck that camera on the outside of that car and we're watching going from the slums of Chicago to the rich areas. It's
so good.
And it's a choice that could only come from him, and it's so smart and so it's so well done. And it's just it's crazy to me that that movie did nothing. And the other, and this is where I slightly differ from you, Ryan, I think Paul Schrader's direction of First Reformed is even better than his screenplay.
Okay.
I think the austerity that he brings to that, the chilliness of it, but when he finds those moments of warmth, and the last like 20 or so minutes of it are just incredible, and really just elevates that movie to just a different plane of existence. And this is like, and I haven't even talked about the director of like the directors of my two favorite movies of the year, Luca Guadagnino for Suspiria and Barry Jenkins for If Beale Street Could Talk, who do both incredible work. And honestly, I think Damien Chazelle's best directed film is First Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to leave all three of them out. It kills me. Kills me.
Who's your winner, Dan?
Don't ask me that.
Oh, that's a question I have to ask. So who are you giving the win to?
Okay. For balancing the ridiculously tricky tone of that movie so well, it's Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite. I think that to me is the highest degree of difficulty to get that film to land the way it does, and to make it not feel exploitative in certain moments, and to make all that weirdness feel in place in a costume drama. It's Yorgos.
It shouldn't work, but it does, and it fits
really does. Yeah, and like the fact that we're talking about all those performances too, like
the best. I said this to Sophia after we saw Poor Things. The best thing that ever happened to him was working with Tony McNamara. So he doesn't work on the script as much and can focus on all the other aspects. And I'm sure he's got his hand in the script as well, but it feels like with this and Poor Things, which we'll talk about a lot this year, he's able to then sort of lean back and focus on the aesthetic and work on the performances and deliver these really in top-notch, insane performances that are these actors' best work of their career. So, no, that's a great pick, Sophia.
Yeah, they are a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So I am going to, I feel badly, taking it away from Alfonso Cuarón, because I know this movie is so special to him, and I would have given him an Oscar for Children of Men if I had to pick a Cuarón film. But I'll keep him as a nominee here because I do think it's a deserved nomination and it's a great directorial achievement. I'm also going to keep Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite and Pavel Pawlikowski for Cold War. I love Cold War, and I was so excited when he was nominated. And then my last two spots, I know people will think I'm going to go with Bradley Cooper, and I obviously would have been happy if he was nominated, but I have to go with two who I feel like had stronger films in terms of directorial visions, and that those two are Barry Jenkins for If Beale Street Could Talk. I think of how he captures those characters in close up. It's breathtaking, and the way that he works with his collaborators and gets those performances out of his actors and has full command over that rich text is really remarkable. and Lee Chang-dong for Burning, who is actually my winner in this category. I feel like Burning is just such a brilliant slow burn, and it all comes together because of his direction here. It's just astonishing. So that's what I'll go with.
Who would you and you would keep it with Alfonso for the regular winner too?
Of the regular winners, I mean, of the nominees, yeah. I probably would have given it to Yorgos for the favorite of those 5. Okay. I think, but I like the Cuarón win. I'm not going to debate that.
I remember at the time I was like hardcore Spike Lee needs to win this Oscar, but it's hard to be mad about Cuarón's win even if he already had one, because it's clearly so personal and it's an incredible directorial achievement, really.
Yeah,
I love Alfonso Cuarón. I really like Roma. It's kind of moved down a little bit for me because the other films I watch a lot more, and
I've never
in my 10 and
rewatched it since that year.
And it's also a really hard film to watch, you know, and speaks to me personally. But I would have him at 6 in my lineup. I would have Paolo Palkowski 7, and I would have Yorgos Lanthimos 8. I would not have Adam McKay within I would have a restraining order from him on this category for the rest of his life. But I do have Spike in my lineup. That's not a big shocker to anybody that knows me about big love for Spike Lee. So that means I have 4 spots. So I would nominate Chloe Zhao for The Rider. I think that's her best film, and it's her best direction, and it's such an intimate film. And I know that she goes on to win an Oscar, but it was a complete surprise, and it was almost like a rediscovery of her here. I would nominate Barry Jenkins. It's bullshit that Adam McKay has an Oscar nomination for Vice, and Barry Jenkins does not have an Oscar nomination for A Beale Street Could Talk. I know how you watch that film and think that that's not brilliant direction. Incredible. Speaking of brilliant direction, Steve McQueen for Widows. Everything that Dan said is correct. Yep. Just from the opening shot, it's just all encompassing. It's incredible work. My last spot is for a movie that no one has talked about today, but it's now time to talk about the truth. One of the best the other thing that people don't talk about is what they don't talk about in this category, it feels like all the time. And it comes every now and then we get an action film that's nominated for Best Picture or Best Director. And Christopher McQuarrie,
I know where this is going.
For Mission Impossible Fallout, made one of the greatest action films of all time. And I watched that film all the fucking time. And if you know how McQuarrie and Cruise operate, and you probably have, because we talked about how Maverick was made, and we've talked about Mission Impossible this year and all that different stuff, you know that they build these set pieces first, and then they create everything around that then becomes the script. And I feel that while I love the Burj Khalifa scene in Mission Impossible 4, and I love aspects, I love Mission Impossible Rogue Nation a lot. I felt like the opera scene and the underwater sequence, I felt like from the beginning, as this movie goes to the movie ends, you are on just this nonstop action thrill ride that is only rivaled in the last 25 years by something like The Matrix or Mad Max Fury Road, to me, in terms of the best action films made, period. And so I don't understand why he didn't get any love whatsoever, because it's such a technical achievement. This franchise never gets any love. And yeah, fuck it. He's in this lineup, and he's way better than Adam McKay, and he deserves it. And everyone always talks about McQuarrie as a writer. I think as a director, he is trying different things in all 3 of his Mission Impossible films. This one has like the closest connection to like William Friedkin and like the French Connection, and a lot of different films that they were looking at from that sort of 70s aesthetics. It's a very dark film as well too for the Mission Impossible franchise. while also just being like, I mean, that the chase sequence in the middle of the film, I watched it on the plane back for a couple days ago. I was like, I'll eat this up for the rest of my life. So that being said, he's not my winner. Dan, you kind of mentioned it just a couple minutes ago. My winner is Spike Lee for BlacKkKlansman.
Yeah.
I think that Spike Lee is one of the greatest directors of all time. I think it's a travesty that Spike Lee does not have an Oscar for Best Director. I think it's a travesty that we're coming up on 100 years of Oscars and we don't have an African-American, male or female, or black male or female Best Director winner. And I think that this was the closest we have gotten to it in a very long time. I think Barry Jenkins was very close with it with Moonlight. And I think that while I love Barry Jenkins and I love John Singleton and I love Steve McQueen and I love Ava DuVernay and I love Gina Prince Bythewood and I love all these directors that have made all these films and have been nominated or haven't been nominated or haven't had the opportunity, a lot of them are standing on the shoulders of this man who, for so many people of color, is the same equivalent, in my opinion, of all the greats that have come before, that we have set aside time to celebrate and honor. And his direction is wholly unique and special. And he has created his own signature shots and moments. And I felt like this moment was his time. It was a movie, BlacKkKlansman, whether you like it or not, was a movie I think that he very much had the pulse of everything going on politically and socially in America. And it's the complete antithesis to fucking Green Book. And
which is why it didn't win.
And as much as I love that he finally won for an Oscar for a screenplay, and he won the honorary the year before, I know Spike Lee as a director more than a writer, and I don't understand why he didn't win the Oscar. I think it's also incredible work, and it is akin
the opening alone.
The opening alone, the ending, the editing, the decisions that he's making, the film history that's put into it. It's such a thoughtful way of doing this story, and this is a very unique story.
And it's still terrifically entertaining.
Yeah, but then what I love so much about it is, you're right, Dan, it's very entertaining, and then it slowly but surely, like every great Spike Lee movie, it sneaks up on you and it punches you in the gut right as you're walking out. I'll never forget seeing this with an audience. We were laughing and having a great time throughout, and those final 5 minutes happened, and it like sucked the room full of air. Nobody was talking. As we were walking out, we were just like, holy shit. And that's the power of what happens when you've been doing this for 35, 40 plus years and making great cinema. So, yeah.
That and the end of BlacKkKlansman is the boldest directorial move in any movie of 2018.
Yep. I totally agree. And so, yeah, I give it a Spike. I love Spike. I don't agree with him on his Oppenheimer takes this week, but I get it. So,
it always will come back to Oppenheimer.
It always comes back. It always comes back. But agree to disagree. No one's perfect. All right, Best Picture. Let's do it. Sophia, you're 10.
Let's do it. Okay, so my 10, I am keeping let's go down this list here. I'm getting rid of Green Book. Goodbye.
You sure?
See you never. As much as, I'm not a Marvel person, so I'm happy that Black Panther got its craft wins. I am gonna kick it out here. I'm gonna keep BlacKkKlansman. I'm gonna kick out Bohemian Rhapsody very happily. I'm keeping The Favorite. I'm keeping Roma. I'm keeping A Star Is Born, and I am getting rid of Vice, of course. So that means we kept only, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, which means I have 6 other spots. So I am going with Burning, Cold War, First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, Mission Impossible Fallout, and Suspiria.
Yeah.
And your winner?
And, my winner, it's so difficult because I kept thinking, like, do I go with the movie of the group that I think would have been a really good winner? Do I go with a movie that I think is, the most important or the most indicative of the year in film? What do I do? I actually feel, even though I left him out of Best Director, because I feel like it's I don't know why I did that, but I think of it as a writing achievement sometimes. But I think of the films that are nominated for Best Picture, I really would have been tempted to give it to BlacKkKlansman, just in what that would have said that year. And I think as an achievement, it definitely holds up and is really strong. My personal winner, though, is If Beale Street Could Talk. That's I think of this group, just top to bottom, the strongest movie for me. As much as I think I would have loved to give it to Burning, because I love it so much. I wonder what that would have done for Parasite the next year almost. So I'm kind of thinking of the whole picture of everything. So for me, if I'm just thinking of my personal favorite on my list, I'm going If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Another Best Picture win
for Barry Jenkins.
For a Barry Jenkins movie. Surprise, surprise.
I love it.
I would, of these nominees, only keep BlacKkKlansman, and I'd kick out everything else. Yeah, because I would put in If Beale Street Could Talk. I'd put in Widows. I'd put in Mission Impossible Fallout. I would put in The Old Man and the Gun, movie that I watch all the time, and I think is an incredible film. I nominate The Writer, Leave No Trace, Burning, First Reformed, and Cold War. Those would be the films that I nominate. I was very close. That last spot, it was either Cold War or Suspiria. Just Cold War got the edge just by a little bit. Of the lineup, BlacKkKlansman should have won. This is not even a question. Like, it's a movie that has aged scarily well. With everything that went on the next 2 years politically in this country, and it continues to go on in this country. It's a movie that it's
eerily prescient.
Yeah, he really just figured it out, and it's one of those where it's like, man, Spike just understands it. I get it. I don't understand why it didn't hit like that, and I'll never understand that, because like, if there's a film to kind of unite us at a time, it almost felt like BlacKkKlansman too, and to make us, to hit the pulse and everything. Like, it's not. I get it's not like
abrasive, and I get it's kind of accusatory. Any movie that sort of like implicates the audience in the bad things tends to not go over well.
True, but it's not implicating that the audience, like of the Academy. It's accusing like the people that won't go see this movie. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And as opposed to like the people that like that Green Book panders to, which is like, oh, don't you feel all bad? Like, it's like, things are bad. Have you stepped outside? Like, did you see, what happened in this country the last 2 years? You see who's really the leaders of this country now that you elected? Good job. And but I would give Best Picture to If Beale Street Could Talk, because it is another one of those films. I think Barry Jenkins also has the pulse of the world, and that's another movie that is talking about a lot of things, and it's very complicated. That movie is a very complicated story, and I think he's able to show all sides of it. And I remember it being, people were kind of like, kind of a little like, ooh, I don't know if this all works. And 5 years later, it's like, yeah, it does. It all works. And it's speaking a lot of truths about a movie set in the past that definitely are still truths that we're struggling with now. And I think it's just incredibly shot. It's beautiful performances. We'll talk about it at the end of the show, but there's one thing in particular with
don't spoil it just yet,
that I know Eric for a fact and I talked about this week, that we still don't understand what happened there, and we'll never understand that, but also the cinematography is incredible. just every aspect of it, every performance too. You know what I forgot about it with If Bill Street Could Talk? I forgot that Pedro Pascal's in this movie too for like a brief second. I saw that this week. I was like, holy shit, Pedro Pascal's in this movie. But Coleman Domingo, Kiki Lane, just that Regina already talked about it earlier.
Everyone in it.
It's incredible. And I know that Barry's going on to make Lion King movies now. And we'll see.
I don't believe that.
But happening. when I watched this movie and I was crying throughout most of it this week, I sat there and I was like, you know what? I'll give him all the passes in the world if that movie is bad. Because this man has made two of the best films of the last decade, the 2010s decade. And and also if he won Best Picture and the card was read correctly, that would have solved a lot of problems from 2 years before.
God, what a moment that would have been. Oh.
And it would have been really nice to see that speech with pretty much the same producing team surrounding it, coming up to that stage and getting a moment that isn't tainted by all the wildness that happened that night. And also, so Bill Street Could Talk definitely would be my winner. Yeah, personally. So, all right, Dan, it's up to you. Are you going to break the streak? And if so, you're just that's just rude.
This is one of those cases where at the time if I had a ballot, I would have voted for BlacKkKlansman. But my favorite of the nominees is actually the favorite. And those are the only two I would keep. It was really fun for me looking at my list from 2018 now and looking at things that that was in my top 10. Interesting. Like I've never thought about that movie since. And
it's always fun when you just do that from the year before, let alone 5 years ago.
Yeah. So I had to do some rearranging to this list based on what things have stayed in my mind and what things have faded. But anyway, my 10 for this year, we starting with 8th Grade, Hereditary, BlacKkKlansman, A Quiet Place, my blockbuster of choice for this lineup, First Man, which got tanked from assholes who didn't even watch it, Disobedience, which got a crappy distributor. Sorry, love you guys at Bleecker Street, but you need to get better with the campaigning. 1985, which I talked about earlier, and it's just pure passion pick for me. Then Suspiria, which is fucking brilliant. And then The Favorite and the immaculate, romantic, sensual If Beale Street Could Talk. That's my number one.
All right. Okay. And then Bill Street's winning Best Picture for all of us. Wow, it got enough first place votes.
So good.
We broke the preferential ballot.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Good job, everyone. I'm so excited by that. All right. Well, that's the 2018 Oscar retrospective here. And we've gone just as long as we normally do on these, which is great. But Dan, can you tell everybody out there where they can find you and all your work? But then also, can you tell us what below the line Oscar win you would change personally?
What below the line Oscar to another nominee or to something completely different?
Whatever you want. You can change it to whatever you want.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm not putting the restraints of the game on you anymore. You can give it to whatever. It doesn't matter. Wow. It's chaos. Yeah, I know. Sophia's like the decisions I have to do over here.
That's really fucking hard, actually. But yeah, so I'll start by saying I would completely replace the best song category with all songs from Vox Lux and what's it called? Anna and the Apocalypse. Okay. The Christmas zombie musical comedy you didn't know you needed. But my actual one that I would completely switch, I love First Man, but best visual effects should have gone to Annihilation.
Yes. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
You can find me and yell at me about all my choices on the social media website formerly known as Twitter at Dance and Dan on Film, and on Letterboxd and post at Dance and Dan.
All right, Sophia, same drill.
Okay, so mine are all musical.
Oh.
If I could change for original song, I would switch out Shallow. If we're just sticking to A Star Is Born, I would do Always Remember Us This Way.
Thank
because
you.
I think that is the best song in the movie.
Yes.
And it should have gotten 2 song nominations, but my song winner is actually Tom York's Suspirium.
Yes. It's the only time I've ever yelled like Dan on this show. Yes.
Yeah.
It would make up for the fact that fucking bullshit with Spectre. God damn it. I'll never get over that.
I put this song on a fall playlist that I have, and truly nothing kills the vibe faster with friends.
Do you dance like Tom York when you're doing it?
I love this song, and I love Tom York and this movie, and I feel like he understands the world of Suspiria so well. Perfect choice. And then an original score. Come on.
Yeah.
If Beale Street could talk.
I mean, really, yeah.
What the fuck are we doing? Like,
if I need a good cry, cue up Agape.
I can't.
It is beautiful work. And, I think that Ludwig Göransson can win for Tenet. Tenet, oh my god, can win for Oppenheimer.
We should have won for Tenet. He should have won for Tenet.
Yeah, he could have won for Tenet too. He could have won. That would have been okay. I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
But in this year, I think Bertel is the standout for me.
It sets the tone right off the bat of that movie. It immediately puts you in.
Yes.
It is an A+ romance, and mostly because of those strings. The yearning. Oh, I can't stand it.
I didn't think that there was any way possible for him to step it up from Moonlight. And the minute that movie started, I went, holy shit. And I was like in a theater by myself watching that movie on like a 3:00 in the afternoon screening when it came out in 2018. And I was like, I was looking for someone to be like, is anyone else hearing what I'm hearing? This might be like one of the greatest scores I've ever heard in my life. It's incredible. Also,
but like the disrespect to First Man's score.
I was just gonna say,
that's a big one.
Hurwitz's score is incredible, and I would have knocked out Mary fucking Poppins Returns in this. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing here?
I actually really like the music in that movie, but like, did Alexander Desplat really need another nomination? Like,
for Isle of Dogs?
Really, yeah, like
that's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good work.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking you really
I know.
Where's Justin Hurwitz?
I
Poppins return score.
I really like Terrence Blanchard's work in BlacKkKlansman.
Oh yeah,
that's very feels like very and almost feels like very early work. That's an homage to Spike's dad, who did a lot of his early films in his career. So
so those are my answers, and you can find me on Twitter /X at Sophia_Sim, and you can find me on Letterboxd at the same handle without the underscore, and you can find me also on my podcast Oscar Wilde and reviews at AwardsWatch.
Check out all of Sophia's stuff on the website. There's a lot of NYFF stuff still coming. She'll have some AFI stuff along the way as well, because we'll be there together. So covering that festival. We're doing a lot of festivals this year. You can find me on Twitter for the time being, and until they make me start paying for it, then I'm not going to do it anymore. Instagram, Letterboxd, Ryan McQuade 77. Feels like Instagram's really the only stable one of those, because if they start adding television on Letterboxd, anyway, that's another thing beside the point. You can, if you like podcasts, go listen to the Director Watch podcast. We're starting a new series this week covering the films of Lynn Ramsey. First episode, Ratcatcher, that will release on Thursday. We'll be covering Lynn Ramsey's work for the next month. Starting in November is when we start doing our PTA series. These 2 people that you heard here, they might be guests on there. What episodes? Well, you might know one of them, Sophia, and you don't know what Dan's gonna do. But yeah, there'll be a lot of other guests as well on for that series. So a lot of fun stuff over at Director Watch. If you like Director Watch, if you like this show, go to iTunes, Spotify, give a 5-star review. We'd love to see that. Also go to the website, sign up for the newsletter. Eric would love that. So it's just easy. Go and sign up, click on it, enter your email. That's all you really need to do. My answers for this, well, Sophia stole my answer. I mean, I would give it to Nicholas Pertel and also Justin Hurwitz. If we're going to talk about Suspiria, why the fuck isn't the makeup nominated from that movie? It's like,
seriously,
it's, and the costumes.
Like the fact that so many people did not know that was Tilda Swinton. I mean, come on.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of nuts. I forgot what the song title was, but I know the song was like from the movie Hearts Beat Loud. You guys remember that movie?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yes, with Nick Offerman. Yes. Yeah, that song. Yeah. I mean, that's better than
that's so good.
That's better than I'll Fight. Sorry, Diane Warren. You know, but yeah, no. I mean, I would also. I'd be remiss if I didn't say in documentary features. Sorry, RBG, but Won't You Be My Neighbor? Why the hell? That was the one this year.
It was a crazy snub. I remember
that was the biggest. That was the big snub. I mean,
yeah.
I don't get it. That was the one that the Critics' Choice went for early and killed it, and we've kind of seen that trend kind of stop recently, which is nice post-pandemic. But I remember seeing "Won't You Be My Neighbor" and just being a shell of myself after that. I think that's a beautiful documentary.
Love it,
and more people should check it out. But that's going to do it for this week's Awards Watch episode. We will be back next week, and we will be talking about, inspired by the terrible Exorcist movie that came out this past weekend. We're going to be doing a top 5 that's actually going to be really interesting. I think it'll be a lot of fun, which is the top 5 best or worst franchise reboots of all time. So I think the gang will really like that, whoever's on the show with me to do that. That'll be really interesting. Maybe The Exorcist joins that because this new movie looks like shit, and I've heard it's real shit. But there's a great review up on the website by Zach Laws with a really great title on the website. Zach came up with it. It's great. Made me laugh. But thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.